You are listening to the Intuitive Healing Connection, where intuitive healing connects with everyday living. Hi, my name is Gina Stroll, and I am your host. I am best known as the down-to-earth energy healer that doesn't sugarcoat the truth. I walk my clients through the healing process so they can find freedom from their emotional pain, heal from their past, and find peace and joy again. If you are interested in healing your emotional past, tapping into your spiritual side to receive your own answers, finding your own clarity, and discovering your own spiritual truths, then you are in the right place. I am here to lead the way and to help you discover your own intuitive healing connection. Are you simply managing your life? I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and we have choices in life. We have opportunities in life, but most of us seem to be running around just managing our life, just getting through from the day to day, wishing our moments away, hoping that maybe at some point things will change and that we'll be able to live this fanciful life that we think is somehow just going to come out of nowhere for us. Is this you? I'm so excited for today's podcast because I want to talk about, are you really managing life or are you living life? Because there are two different things. And I want to share with you some stories, a story for sure, on where I've come from, because I think it's helpful when you understand and know that the person that you're getting advice from has lived it, because I have lived it. I have been there. It is the reason that I'm here today. It is the reason that I do what I do today, because I spent a lot of time managing life, and I don't want you to do that. My goal, my whole purpose, the reason that I do what I do, the reason that I have the business that I have is to help people really get out of this managing their life and really learn to live life. It is meant to be. It is meant to be experienced. Life, believe it or not, is meant to be enjoyed. But we cannot do that when we're so full of emotional energetic traumas, triggers, all the things, when we're weighed down by life, when we really just don't have that hope, that sense of openness that we all need in order to be able to really enjoy life and not just manage it. So this is kind of what I want to talk about today. We kind of started off a little different with this podcast today, but I really want to share with you some new thoughts, maybe some new ideas. If you're someone out there that is just living life, if you're someone that is dreading every damn day, thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get up and do it again in the morning, I'm talking to you. This is who I'm talking to today. You are my person. You are the person that needs to hear this the most, because we have, I don't want to say an obligation, but that's the word that's kind of coming to my mind, to really figure out our lives and really learn to become a co-creator in our life and not just allowing life to happen to us and then being upset because things are turning out the way that they are. So as we get started on this today, I really want to talk about why this kind of came up for me. And I've always thought about this word, managing your life. Are you managing life? Are you getting up and treating it like a job every day? Or is it fun? And is it exciting? And does it feel exciting? And how do we get to that point where we can feel that excitement? The one thing that got me thinking about this is I was scrolling through videos this week, and I came across this video that was talking about depression versus suppression and how we get to depression. And the person that was doing this video was really talking about how suppression of emotions and feelings is really what causes our depressive feelings. And I know there's controversy all over that, and I am not a medical doctor. I don't even claim to be. I don't even claim to go in. There are different kinds of depression, but here's what I do know. And I'm not downplaying anybody's depression too, as we talk about this today, but this is what I do know. And the reason that I do know it is because this has been my experience for me. So this is the part that I understand because it is my experience and I have lived it. I spent most of my early adult years managing my life, putting a Band-Aid on my life, living life every day, in this management position, hoping to get through the next day, hoping to be good enough. I was living off of antidepressants. I was living off of anti-anxieties. It was the only way that I knew how to cope with what I didn't even understand was going on inside of me. And at the time, I had no idea. I just thought this is the way that I was. My brother had committed suicide. He struggled with depression, obviously, or we wouldn't be where we are today. He was never, he never received care for that until it was too late. It was just back then, things like that weren't really talked about. And as I got into my adult years and I'd go to the doctor and tell them I'm not feeling well, I need all these things. And of course, their first go-to is to give you an antidepressant. And I'm having some anxiety here, have some Xanax, go home, manage your symptoms, right? And I did that for a whole lot of years. And I remember getting to the point one day, I remember this day very vividly for myself because my husband and I were headed to dinner with the kids. And I think it was with my family, which is always kind of stressful, but I think we were meeting my family and we were going to dinner. This was in our early years. And I remember being mad at him for something because back then seemed like I was always mad about something. And now looking at it today, I realize the reason that I was upset is because I didn't feel like I was heard. But he didn't know how to deal with me. I didn't know how to deal with me. And I just really did not know how to communicate and deal with life very well. And I remember we were in the car and I was kind of upset with him about something stupid, I'm sure, over the kids. And I remember telling him, and I hurt him so deeply this day because I said, I am sick and tired of pretending to be happy all the time. And that really was a changing moment for me because at the moment I was just so frustrated and so angry with life. And I thought, if this is all that life is, I'm not sure that I want to do life anymore. I'm not sure that I want to be in this place anymore of having to deal with this bullshit every day, because that's literally what it felt like to me. And back then I was trying to do all the mom things. I was very much into my religion, trying to do that well. I don't think I was doing anything well. I don't think I was doing that one thing well. I think I was doing a whole lot of things mediocre at that point in my life because I just didn't understand the big picture. And if any of you have been there and you know what I'm talking about, I think you can probably relate with this. Because we go through times where literally, and this was a long period of time for me. This was pretty much my whole early marriage, early childhood, or early raising my kids, their early childhood, for my older kids anyway. And I literally just didn't know how to cope. I had never been taught how to cope. I'd never been taught how to really communicate well, start communicating my needs and what I needed and what I wanted and what I desired. I just had never experienced any of that, and I didn't understand what was really going on. Now, fast forward all these years later, now I totally get it. And I can see it from the outside looking in. And I realized years and years and years of emotions that had been suppressed were shoved down deep, deep in the outer depths of hell, literally in the lower depths of hell. And they were left there to rot. And as those emotions are rotting down there, never to be heard, never to be spoken of, never to be acknowledged by myself, never allowed the opportunity to flow, as I believe now that emotions are, it creates this massive, and we'll call it an energy block, an energy shove, which creates this sadness and this sorrow and this depression that I was experiencing inside of my body. And literally, as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I feel like it explodes to the outside, and we step into this place of really living in this cloud of sadness and sorrow. And it really is quite a sad place to be. For me, I look back and that was a sad place to be. I didn't know how to deal with everything that had happened to me growing up. I didn't know how to talk about it. We were never told, we were told to shut up, to get over it, to stop crying. Would you put your big girl's panty on? Stop crying. Stop doing that. No, you don't get to be angry. You have to be happy. You don't get to do these things. You have to do this. You have to be this way. You have to show up this way. And years of that conditioning left me where I was at. And I realized this all these years later now, I'm like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't I feel that way? If you think about being told that you can't express your feelings, that you're not allowed to have an opinion about anything, you just do what you're told. We get to the point where people explode, right? Like, because there's so much, I call it the pressure cooker effect. If you've ever used a pressure cooker, and I cook potatoes in my pressure cooker all the time, and you cut them up and you put them in there and you put the lid on it and you close it up tight and you seal it up tight. If you turn that pressure cooker up too high, give it too much energy, the lid's going to blow off, which is kind of scary. We don't want to do that. But that's kind of what's going on inside of ourselves. And we get to this point where we are that pressure cooker just waiting to explode because we don't know how to deal with all of this. We don't know what to do with all of this information and all of these feelings and all of this stuff that has been stuffed down for so many years. By the time I started doing my healing work, I had 30 years of shit to deal with just in this lifetime. We won't even talk about anything else. 30 years is a long time. 30 years of feelings, that's a lot of stuff. And we wonder why we feel so tired and exhausted and unmotivated, not happy with life, no excitement. How can you have excitement when you're stuck in that pressure cooker effect, waiting to explode? Now, as I talk about all of this, a lot of people know, we were raised in that era where we weren't talked about, we weren't encouraged to explore our feelings and say how we feel. Nobody wanted to hear about that. And so as a result of that, it's where we got to here today. I had things that happened in my childhood that were very traumatic to me, as I know many of you, all of you, I would say, have had that, whether you acknowledge it or not. I've realized as I've done the healing work, how that has affected me may have been differently than how it affected someone else. Nonetheless, it's still my story and still my traumas. And because of those, I've had a lot of healing work to do around those. But that all came later after the fact when I realized, for me, I realized that, for one, the medicine that I was getting was just a Band-Aid. And that I had to get really serious with myself. And I had to understand that I needed to take the time to figure out me. And if I wanted to be a good mom, which I did, I wanted to be the best mom in the world. If I wanted to be that good mom, if I wanted to be that wife and have the kind of relationship that I now have today with my husband, same person, by the way. If I wanted that, I had to start creating that in my own life. And I had to start figuring out how to do it. At the time, I didn't know how to do it. There's a lot of different ways that people can really learn to explore. Some people, therapy works great for them. I had tried therapy. It did not, that wasn't something that worked for me. In fact, I was told that I wasn't bad enough. I actually was told by a therapist that my issues weren't bad enough and that I just needed pretty much go home and suck it up, just like I had been told by everybody my whole life. Well, that was not helpful for me. That didn't change the way that I felt about myself. That didn't change the way that I was viewing the world. That was not helpful. So to me, therapy was not the answer. And I had to find different ways to deal with it. And that's when I was introduced to energy healing. And I know I've talked about this a lot. Once I started utilizing energy healing as part of my life, once I started really acknowledging that, you're right, I had a lot of things that I needed to look at. I had a lot of things that I needed to be more open to, and that I really needed to start taking a good look at my life and really where I'm at and acknowledging my feelings. Still today, I'm working on a lot of anger from my childhood. And anger has been something I've been talking about in my emails lately. I've been talking about it in my lives. We think that it's so bad and nobody wants to talk about the fact that they're mad at their mom or their dad or, their childhood or the experiences that they've had, that there's anger wrapped around that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that anger. In fact, you need to do it in order to be emotionally healthy. It needs to come out. Those feelings down there they're not serving you. When we have emotional stress in our body, that's when it brings out other stresses in our body. When our physical body starts reacting to those, that's when we start having health issues. That's when we start having so many things going on. Most people say, well, I'm not stressed. you're stressing the body out by not giving it the room that it needs to breathe and to do what it needs to do, that cell production, all the things. That's a whole other thing we could talk about. But when you've got that emotional stress and that emotional trauma going on in there, it's not serving your body in any way at all. And so we have to start acknowledging that and really acknowledging our feelings, acknowledging where we're at and not suppressing them down. When I started doing this, it was a very short period of time, and I realized I didn't need the medicine anymore. Now, I'm not telling anybody to go jump off their medication today. Do not hear that from me. You need to go talk to your doctor. You need to work this out with them, work it out, tapering yourself off if that's what you feel like doing. But you absolutely need to have a plan of action in how you're going to learn to deal with and cope with your emotions and your feelings and releasing the emotions that are already blocked and stored in your body. Because that right there was the key for me. When I started working with those emotions, when I started allowing them to come out, it was not easy. It was very difficult, in fact, in the beginning, because I had never experienced anything like that. And it can be very overwhelming when you start feeling that actually come up out of your body. There were times when I felt like I was going to throw up. There were times when I felt like I literally wanted to vomit, but I couldn't. There were times when I could feel it as pressure inside of my body, like rolling its way out through. I could feel it come up through my throat. Even now today, when I work with people and I feel those come out, sometimes I feel like I want to choke. I want to throw up. I'm nauseated. These are all normal. That energy is huge. And as it is coming up and out, it can be a little scary, a little overwhelming just to feel that. But this is the way that we allow our body the space to feel that happiness, that joy. If it is so crammed down with all of these negative emotions, how do you ever expect to find the freedom and the joy that life has to offer to you? It's when we decide that we're going to let go of this, because this stuff over here, because it's no longer serving us, that's when we can bring in more space for that freedom, for that joy, for that peace. That's when we allow our body to heal and we allow ourselves to stop managing life and start truly living in the happiness and the joy that you were designed to live here, because that's your true nature. All of this other stuff is not your true nature. You were designed to live in that place of peace, love, joy, happiness, freedom. Believe it or not. And I know some of you are like, well, I'm an adult now and we just have things to do and we have to, over here on this side is where you give yourself the freedom to quit those jobs that you hate, where you give yourself the opportunity to make decisions and quit telling yourself that you're backed into a corner and you just have to do things this way. And it's just the way it is. When you're in your traumas, when you're living in those emotions and those suppressed feelings, that's where there is no freedom. That's where you just tell yourself, I don't know what else to do. You're overwhelmed. You're done. You don't care. There is no zest for life. You may find moments of it, short-filled moments, but then you find yourself right back in that hole again. And as long as you stay there and are not willing to look at things from a different point of view, you won't be able to get out of that hole. I'm not saying that's where it's just, you need to give yourself space to get out of that so that you can find your freedom and your joy. And that's exactly what I did when I found emotional healing. It literally was life-changing for me. It changed my view. It changed my outlook on life. That's when I started going to my doctor and started tapering off my medicine. The funny thing enough is I kept that medicine on my shelf for like a year and a half after I finally got off. Now, I worked with my healthcare professional to do all of this. But when I was finally off the medicine, I was still a little nervous. I didn't trust it because I'd been on it for so long. And I was like, is it really going to stay this way? Or am I going to wake up again and feel that need to have that extra sense of security in my life? So I kept it on hand for a long time. It was kind of crazy, but I did. And if that feels good to you, I encourage you to do that as well. But for me, that was a way to cross that bridge, to cross that healing bridge and to have that safety and security in my life knowing that I did have it to fall back on if I needed to. Ironically enough, I've never fallen back on it. Once I realized that I could help myself, that I could co-create with myself, that I could work with myself to help me feel better, that was the little jump start that I needed. That was the very beginning. That was the beginning of my process. Now, all these years later, I'm 20 years down the road. What a difference it has made in my life. Now I can't imagine going back to that, not for 1 minute, because I know if I get up and I'm in a funk, I got some things going on. I need to go look at them. I need to look at myself. I need to start journaling. I need to, what are you shoving? What are you not acknowledging? What are you hiding from? I start asking myself all the questions because I have the answers. It's just a matter of asking myself the questions and taking the time, because I matter. I matter that much. And so do you. I matter that much to take that time and go figure that out and see what it is that I need to do to help myself get out of this funk. And you can learn to do the same thing. I think it's so cool. I've been teaching people to do this now for many, many years because it worked so well for me. I want to help other people get out of their funk. I want to help other people learn to live their best life. And this one thing, energy healing has offered that to me. It gave me that bridge from where I was at to where I am today. And is it an easy process? No. But it's one for me that I will tell you hands down over and over again. I would do it again and again and again and again. And I would do it over and over and over again. And I continue to do this process with myself over and over again because I matter. My feelings matter. My emotions matter. And I know that now. And I know that it doesn't matter what has happened to me. I can learn to process those emotions. I can let those out safely and feel safe and secure in the process of doing that and allow myself to step forward into the beautiful life that I was designed to live, which is exactly what I do today for myself and for my clients. Because we all deserve to have that peace. We all deserve to find your freedom. Most people are like, how do you get there? You know, it's confusing when you're back here in the shoving part, the suppressing part, the depression part. It's confusing when you're there. But when you realize that I can get there, and we see people who have gotten there, you know, then we realize, oh my gosh, it's a possibility. That's all you need, is that little bit of hope of maybe there's a possibility. That possibility is enough to start you on the process of getting you where you want to go. Now, I had people help me along the way. I haven't done it all by myself. I have definitely had my people that have come in, coaches. I've had my healing team that has helped me. You know, I have my guide team that has helped me every step of the way. You want to start your healing process, just ask your guides to bring the right people to you. I promise you, they will do it. You will have people show up in your newsfeed. You will have people show up for you. Suddenly you'll be seeing someone on social media. Maybe you're listening to me here today going, oh my gosh, this is me. And if she can do it, so can I. And that little bit of hope is all that you need to be able to pull yourself out of this place that you have been for a long period of time. Ironically enough, you need to understand, we will stay uncomfortable forever because that's our comfort zone. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is true. We will actually fight, kick, scream. I had someone message me today that says, I know I need to do inner child healing and I need to make an appointment with you, but I'm in this state of resistance. That right there is that kicking, that screaming, that really not wanting to deal with life, because we know this uncomfortable. We've become comfortable in that uncomfortable, if that makes sense. When we start thinking about changing and moving and doing something different, our ego mind goes, whoa, 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 wait, no, we're not going there. Absolutely not. I'm not going to go and talk to somebody about my issues. I'm not going to go to the doctor to get that one thing taken. I'm not doing that. That is ridiculous. That is, because we will stay over here just as long as we can. Because believe it or not, we know what that feels like. And that feels normal to us. Coming out of that and coming over here feels very unnormal, feels very uncertain. We don't understand that. And we literally will fight, kick, scream on the inside. We know reality wise that this would be a good thing for us to do. But the inside of us says, I'm not doing that. That is ridiculous. That is beyond anything we would never, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And we'll stay over here in this mess. We'll call it that mess of uncertainty. And because it feels normal to us. So, that resistance is going to come in. To me, when I feel that resistance coming in, I know that that is something I absolutely need to do. And it takes courage and strength to step out of that and realize, you know what? I don't know what this looks like for me. I've done this several times in my life with healing. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, for my medical issues that I've had to take care of, I've done it for all of it. And I know when that resistance kicks in, that fear kicks in, that is my cue to step forward. Do not give into that. We have to learn to do that. We have to learn to step out of that fear, that resistance, and go, okay, you know what? That is my cue to step forward. This is my cue that it's time to make some changes. And I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust that gut feeling. So many of us think that gut feeling is that the universe or our inner instincts are telling us that something's wrong. The only thing that it's telling you is that this is different and it's going to change, and I don't like that. That's what it's telling you. That fear comes in of who will we become? What will this do to us? Is this going to change who we are? Yeah, it's going to change who we are for the better. But you have to give yourself that freedom. You have to give yourself literally permission to step out of that resistance and into that thing that is better for you. So if you're sitting here listening to me, some of you may even be a little angry as you listen to me. What I say, you're like, why is this bothering me so much? It's because that resistance comes in. It's telling you that you've got some work to do. You need to make some changes, but you're fighting it every step of the way, which is totally normal, 100% normal. So when we can step out of that and really trust that, you know what, there's something here for me. If you are feeling any of these things today, know that it's perfectly normal. But I want you to trust in your instincts, trust in yourself enough to know that when you feel that, you know what, there's something I need to be aware of here. There's something that I need to do for myself. And give yourself that space to honor that. Give yourself that space to start your healing work or to continue your healing work with someone. If you've been working with someone and you've kind of hit the standstill for a minute, give yourself permission to work with someone. Give yourself permission to work with yourself. Start taking a class, do something different. Give yourself that gift of stepping out of that resistance into your next step. Life is made up of that resistance. That resistance is never going to go away. It's what you do with it that matters. And for me, I have completely 100% learned that when I feel that step in, when I feel that resistance step in, it's because I need to step forward right into it, right in the middle of it. And I need to trust that and know that there's something here for me to get. There's something here for me to understand. There's something here for me to learn and grow from. And I'm going to trust it and go for it. So we kind of went all around a whole lot of things today. The key takeaways that I would take from today is it's time for you to stop stuffing your emotions and start learning to process them. There's different ways that we can do that. There's journaling, there's working with an intuitive healer, which is so helpful. If you have never done that, I love helping people give their emotions words. I spend a lot of time every day helping people acknowledge that anger, acknowledge the places that they're at and being okay with it, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we need to stop running from it. We need to stop hiding from it. There are no bad emotions. There's no bad things in life. It's what you do with it that matters. And so, really giving yourself that safe place to process your emotions, to feel your emotions, whether you journal, see an intuitive healer, meditation, there's a lot of different ways that we can really process. One of my favorite things to do, and I will share this with you because it works well with all of the emotions. Okay. And so one of the things that I really like to do is I spend time every day, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, In the morning when I first wake up, I do what I call a body scan, and I just close my eyes and I go through my entire body. And if there's any place that feels stiff, thick is kind of a word I use, pressure, anything that just doesn't feel fluid and full of freedom, I focus on it. And I ask myself, what is that in there? And you can just focus on it. You don't need to name it. You don't need to have all of the details on it. And I just really allow that energy to start flowing in there and flow those emotions out. Any place in your body that you're doing this, whatever it is, it's funny, yesterday I was working with someone and I asked the question, is there any anger that was stored in my body today that I can release? Because I ask myself that a lot. And it's funny, I could feel it in my gut. And I was actually doing the work for her, but I was like, oh, I got a little bit of stuff there I need to work on later. So I'll take care of that later. And so, you can get really good at feeling those emotions in your body and where they're stored at. And then just focusing on them and setting that intention to release that energy out of your body. We need to do this every day. This isn't a one and done thing. You don't go and work on anger one time in a healing session and you're done with it. It happens over time. It happens with consistency. It happens when we continue to do things over and over and over again. That's where we get our biggest healing moments. That's where we can release all of this energy from our bodies, from our past. This is where we deal with our traumas and our emotions and our triggers. All of these type of things can come out if we will give ourselves permission to look at them. So, I would encourage you to do the body scan every day. If you're in my membership, I have a body scan meditation in there, which is so helpful. If you haven't signed up for my membership, go get in there. You can really, just listen to my voice and do that meditation every day and clear out a lot of your energy every single day. You should be doing this. All of us should be doing this every day. It really just helps us feel lighter. It helps us start our day off in a better vibration. That's what I call it. A higher vibration helps you have a much better day, which leads to much better weeks, which leads to much better years. So I would encourage you to go do that. So that is one of my favorite things to do. Journaling about your feelings. A lot of people call it automatic writing. I like to start with dumping all of my feelings when I do any automatic writing. I really start talking about all the things that I'm feeling and the frustrations that I'm going through, and I dump all that out. And then eventually we get to where we want to be, which is understanding why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. You can do all that too. You can write about your emotions. You can the automatic writing is a way for you to understand why you feel the way you feel and why you do the things that you do, which is marvelous. We all should do that. So I would encourage you. You can also set in meditation. Meditation is a great way. Set your intention to release any energy that's no longer serving you. Set your timer for 10, 15 minutes and set in that healing energy and allow yourself to go release that energy. I have tons of meditations, healing meditations inside of my membership. If you're interested in joining that, it is a great way to release energy every single day, multiple times a day. I have multiple healing meditations in there that you can use for all the things that you need. And it has been very helpful for a whole lot of people. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the notes and you can click on that link and sign up. Super easy. So I hope this has been very helpful for you today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for doing your healing work. Thank you for being here. I know it seems kind of pointless sometimes. We can get into places where we think our healing work is pointless. I'm telling you, all these years later, it was never pointless. Any little thing that you can do makes your world a better place, but it also makes the world as a whole a better place to be. So thank you for doing your work. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if this has been helpful for you today and you can think of someone who might benefit from them, please share. Sharing is caring. Please share with them and allow this message to get out to the world. So I thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day, and we'll see you on the next podcast very soon. Bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening today. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me by email at ginastroll@ginastroll.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Gina Stroll Intuitive Healing. You can also find the full podcast videos on my YouTube channel as Gina Stroll Intuitive Healing. If you are interested in working with me or you would like more information about any of the healing programs that I offer, you can find that information on my website at ginastroll.com. And of course, don't forget that sharing is caring. Share this podcast with a friend and help spread the healing energy around the world. Thank you for listening and joining me today, and I can't wait to connect up with you again.